Welcome back to another fall recipe and another apple recipe. So last week I had shared that I had this gigantic bag of apples. I got to do something with it, and I warned you guys there's going to be a couple apple videos. Well, today I am taking really only one of those apples, and I am going to make some shortcut, quick little mini apple pies with crumble topping. It should be fairly quick and simple. So I am using these tiny little mini tart shells. So I'm not going to make my own pie crust or anything. That's what makes it a bit of a shortcut. It's only going to take one apple. I'm using a can of dulce de leche for my caramel sauce. So let's get to it and make some mini apple pies. All right, so I changed my mind about using one apple. I'm going to do 2 small apples, and I'm going to dice them up. And I've decided to use 2 different varieties of apples just to give more variety and taste and texture into my apple pies. So first of all, I'm going to peel both of them. Then I'm going to dice them up, but I'm going to do it by cutting them into rounds versus quarters, just so that when I dice them up, they're a little bit more even. Once I have them all diced, I'm just going to put them into my bowl, and I'm going to grab a lemon, cut it in half, and I'm only going to squeeze the juice from half a lemon onto my apples. I'm also going to add a hint of vanilla into them. Like a teaspoon of vanilla. Then I'm going to toss them and set this aside for a minute. All right, so in a separate bowl, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and 1.5 to 2 teaspoons of apple pie spice. And I'm going to whisk that all together. Once it's whisked together, I'm going to sprinkle it over top of the apples, and I am going to toss them or mix them until they are all fully coated. Okay, so next I have 1 package of mini tart shells. There's 18 in a package, or at least the one I bought, there was 18. And I'm going to just take my apples and fill up the mini tart shells until all the apples have been used up. While I'm doing that, my oven is preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, I am using 1 can of dulce de leche. If you have a caramel or a butterscotch sundae topping syrup, you could use that as well. And all I'm going to do is add about a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons on top of all of the apples. I'm not adding too much. I just want a little bit in there just to add, that nice caramel butterscotch type flavor into the apples. So, I know I won't use the whole can. I'm barely going to use like a quarter of the can, so I will find another use for this. But this part is optional. You don't have to add the caramel in if you don't want to, but I'm telling you, this is going to be amazing with it. Now for the crumble top. So I am adding a 1/4 cup of rolled oats into my bowl, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of flour. Then I'm adding 1/8 teaspoon of salt, an 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda, and an 1/8 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also adding roughly a 1/4 teaspoon of apple pie spice. I'm going to whisk that all together, and then I'm going to add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of cold diced up butter. And you can either cut the butter in with a pastry cutter, or if you really want to, you could do this on your mixer or in your mixing bowl on your mixing stand, or you could do it by hand like I'm doing here. I'm just squishing the butter into everything until it forms a crumbly texture and is easy to kind of squish together to make clumps. Okay, so once your crumble is ready, squish little bits of it and place it on top of all of your little mini apple pies. And you can put as much or as little as you want, but I'm going to try and use up all of it on my little apple pies because I love the crumble on top of these. That's probably one of my favorite parts besides the apple, of course. All right, once they are all done, then you're going to pop them into the oven and you are going to bake them for approximately 30 minutes. It might be a little bit less, like 25 to 30 minutes. All right, so that was a super quick and easy recipe to make. I think they turned out really well. They're really cute. I like them. I've already cut this one open just to see how it cooked on the inside. The bottom of the crust is nicely baked. It's not underbaked, which is a normal thing for any type of pie for me. But this turned out really good. So let's give it a try. They're delicious. The apples are perfectly cooked. They're not overcooked. They're not undercooked. Slight crunch to them. Great flavor. I love the crumble on top. It adds a little extra crunchiness to it. I don't know what else to say. I think it turned out really great. It was a very quick and easy dessert to make or a little treat to make. Anyway, it's something to do if you have an extra apple laying around the house. All right. So remember to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I will see you guys all next week.